Hello, everybody, and welcome back to today's episode of Jace Beleren Must Die. If I were a better producer, I would know what episode number this is, but I don't. So you'll just have to deal with it. I think it's 34. I think you're right. Yeah. So Torgor.
Yes.
Dear Torgor. So after the meeting where everyone gathers together and discusses the great and terrible conspiracy that you are facing, there is a moment where we all kind of split, right? Rhode's got to go and live her false life, and Tack is unconscious, and Winnegar leaves. Where does Torgor go, right? Because your new job is like, go back and make nice with the Rakdos. Get back in bed with them and tell us what Rakdos particularly is up to. Like, get to Rixmati, get as close to Rakdos as you can, and keep an eye on things over there.
And I think you nailed it right on the head. Is Torgor can't really go back to his own circus as a way in. So I think for him, his best matter of fact is like, I'm just going to Rixmati. I'm going to travel through the Undercity. I'm going to go back to the actual like basis of the Rakdos and try to re-ingratiate myself.
Shit. Yeah. That's awesome. That's bold. That's like, what? I'm just going straight to HQ and we're just going to see what we can do there.
Cool.
And I think
a little bit of rolling on the die that it's like, it's such a bold move that like the idea of kerfuffle or someone doing something in Rixmati would like start such a chain reaction.
Yeah.
That like in Torgor's mind, like, oh, I'm safe. I'm relatively secure.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing, right? Is you're going over Kerfuffle's head. Like if you go, you could theoretically go back to the go back to the circus, go back to Kerfuffle's circus and be like, hey, I'm sorry, let's be friends again. Like you can be the boss. I didn't mean to outshine you or whatever. But this way, you're just like, nah, forget them. We're going straight to Rakdos's lair.
I'm going to become Rakdos's number 2, and then I'm going to kill Kerfuffle and get Mogus back because I have not forgotten about my sweet, sweet pet that is no longer in my care.
Yeah. Yeah, I believe also, I think you left your maul behind.
I did. I had to. It was dangling from the sky.
It was dangling, exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, cool. So Rixmati, I will read the description of it. This is a thing that Torgor would definitely know, but just to sort of set the stage. And I grabbed the card for Rixmati Dungeon Palace, and I threw it on the board there. And so I'll let you know. This is what Rixmati is about. So Rixmati is part of the Undercity, so you have to go through the Golgari Underground to get there. The most direct route to Rixmati is down an immense stone staircase that leads down an ancient tunnel carved deep into the earth by a worm and enforced by thick stone pillars. Rakdos members call this passage the Demon's Vestibule. Rixmati stands at the far end of a courtyard, the festival grounds, its ornate stone edifice flanked by jagged basalt pillars flowing with lava streams. The facade is the only part of the guild hall that resembles an actual building. Inside, it's a large natural cavern with ledges and rooms scattered along its walls, home to the Defiler's minions, blood witches, and servants. Rakdos's lava pit is the chamber's central feature and is the size of a large lake with crisscrossing stone pathways and docks for people to gather and entertain. The high ceiling is adorned with steel cables, cages, and hooks to hang people from, which are cut in a way to ensure they bleed out slowly. Their blood is captured in basins that are scattered around the cavern floor. After death, their bodies are hurled into the lava pit or left for the scavenging hellhounds. In Rixmati is the Jester's Crypt, a dark tunnel where Rakdos takes cultists who displease him. Few ever return from the crypt.
Mm-hmm.
Woo! It's also where you have to go to perform the ritual to become a blood witch. So this is like
what
on the surface, right? This is the closer you get to Rixmati, the closer you get to the true nature of Rakdos, which is that it is a cult that worships an enormous blood drinking murder demon. Up on the surface, Rakdos is mostly the clown show, right? It's mostly let's juggle chainsaws, let's, fight giant monsters, let's do the circus thing, let's cause chaos. But you get further away from that and more into this like ominous demon cult thing as you go further down. Have you ever been to Rixmati before, Torgor?
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think truly because as much as they are chaotic, the Rakdos still holds like massive convenings at certain points of like all the members throughout truly think of it as the gathering in
Yes.
a lot of ways.
Yeah.
It
Right.
happens. Yeah. And so Torgor has been to Rexmati with his like circus before, but never individually.
Right. So you went as like a team thing where you're like, we're gonna go and represent our. Yeah, and I do imagine that every once in a while, like Rakdos himself will like, you know, proceed over a great like internal gathering of cults. And part of it is like showing off, right? It's like we're gonna get together and we're gonna like do a show to amuse our demonic overlord. Otherwise, we're gonna get thrown in the lava. So how does it feel different for Torgor to be down here alone now? Right, without your clown friends?
It is much more truly scary.
Yeah,
I think when you're with your group, there's a little bit of revelry that's happening. A little bit of the chaos is like kind of okay, because if something happens to me, it's fine. I'm also going to be hurting someone out. Like there's this level of like equality that exists around it. I think entering into this for Torgor, going by himself and going as a Dimir agent is something he's grappling with. And there's fear about being caught, fear about representing, but deep underneath all of it, there's an excitement to go home, because like Torgor hasn't been back in a place where he has really felt like he has belonged in a while. And I think there's ultimately that's what's like driving him, is the idea of just being back in some place with his people.
Yeah. That makes sense. Cool. Okay. Well, you know, worst case scenario, if you end up, you know, having to fight Rakdos, if he finds out you're Dimir, he's only challenge rating 24. He's only got 300 hit points. He'll be fine.
I'll be totally fine. Well, here's the. I'm a metagame this a little bit. I'll find Rakdos. Yeah. I'll let him kill me, and then I'll come back as an undead blood witch, and then I get to multi-class. It'll be perfect.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Okay, cool. So yeah, I mean, I think there's no, for you as a member of the Rakdos Circus and stuff, it's not like Rixmati is not like a place you have to like earn your way into or whatever. It's just if you come here and you don't belong here, you're gonna get killed. But I imagine the interior of it, when I think about it, I think of like Hieronymus Bosch paintings of hell, right? Like there's just, if you focus too long on any one thing around you, it will horrify and break down your mind. But if you just kind of like focus on what you're doing here, there's like screaming and terrible things going on all around you. As we said, people hanging from hooks from the ceiling of this massive lava cavern. But in a way too, it's a sacred place, in so much as like this is where the Guild Perun and demonic overlord lives, right? He dwells within this place. It's sanctified, if not holy. So what are you looking for down here as you enter, right? You get people kind of casting glances your way. You see a few other minotaurs, and it feels like you've wandered into the back room of a club, and you're like, oh, this is where all the real shit happens. Okay. But nobody's throwing you out. You're getting, people will look, you get a couple, like a nod from a minotaur who's like holding a severed arm, and there's like a guy tied to a cross screaming and his arm's like off, and the minotaur just looks at you and gives you a nod like welcome home, and then goes back to torturing this dude. But yeah, you're not out of place here. Like you said, it feels a bit like home. So where do you go? What are you looking for here in Rixmati?
I think there's a part of like Torgor that goes directly to what was it called? It wasn't not the Jester Crypt, but like nearby the central sort of like column where
so there's three areas. There's the Demon's Vestibule, which we kind of start the scene as you're passing through. This is coming down the big lava glowing tunnel, with the big pillars, and there's like bones all hanging from the pillars and stuff. And then you enter the courtyard. This is the festival grounds, and this is where these events would be held. It's the huge sort of main chamber, and then there's all of these other kind of chambers and tunnels all around it.
Then I would say the festival grounds is where Torgor sort of enters, and like at this place looking for the people who stay. Because I think there's a lot of folks, because of the way that like the Rakdos are kind of nomadic and they travel from place to place, but this is like their central hub. There are some vendors. There are some like stall owners. There's some people who like true masters of their craft of what they do, who are just fixtures anymore. They don't have to perform as much for Rakdos because Rakdos knows that they're better off teaching than they are performing. That's not to say that they won't have to like defend their place.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I would love to go in this and like try to find one of the like whoever the jester like trainer is, or like the head jester within Rixmati.
Right. You're looking for somebody of significance around here.
Right.
Yeah, sure. Well, so like you pointed out, Rixmati is home to kind of the inner circle of Rakdos's worshippers. And I think probably the person you'd go looking for is one of the, I think she's technically a blood witch. Her name is Judith. And she is she's known as the Scourge Diva. And she's a big deal, especially right now. She's kind of a rising star. Her circus is like, about her predominantly because Kerfuffle was just like desperate for her attention and approval, right? Like he would not shut up about her. And he was just like, oh yes, Judith, like I hear she's gonna come to her. Every time he had a performance, he was like, this is gonna be the one. Like this is gonna get Judith's attention. She's gonna come and check us out. And so you never saw her. It never happened for him, right? Like she never came to one of your shows or whatever. She's too important. She's too busy. She's a ringleader of her own in her own right. But if you come to Rixmati, you might be able to swing a meeting here with her. So yeah, I think that that Judith and her coven, her like blood witch coven, they have an area of Rixmati that belongs to them, where they plan their shows and where she might be. If you want to go and try to talk to her.
I think that's exactly, yeah. Especially the notion of, if I can get in good with Judith, that is gonna, Kerfuffle's gonna be so mad. Yeah,
she's an angle. Yeah, she's an angle in on Rakdos, right? Like if you can get her approval, if you can get onto her troop, that would be a big win for Torgar. Okay,
sure.
So so you go to you go to find this place, and when you arrive, you're walking along one of these kind of catwalks up above the lava pool. Everything has sort of got that ominous glow. When you come up, Judith has her like bouncers, right? Her bodyguards up front, and they're two huge muscly dudes, and they have like leather hoods pulled over their heads with no like eye or nose or mouth holes. And they have like whip marks and like layers of scars over all of their exposed flesh, which is most of it. And they have like leather, like loincloths. There's two big meathead gimps standing in front of the door. And there is, I think probably there's just blood stains like all over the floors and the walls. And you walk up and the two of them are standing kind of like blocking the door. What do you do?
Do I see Judith beyond them, or
no? The door is it's a stone door and it's shut right now.
This one, Torgor requests an audience with Judith, just like straight up, just like directing to them.
Yeah. Okay. So they regard you unseeing, right? It's clear that they tilt their heads towards you sort of simultaneously. And there was a pause, and then they go back to sort of the guard position, and one of them nods slightly, and the door starts to swing open.
Like Torgor like gets past him. Okay. All right. Next step.
Yeah,
and like constantly reassessing into this like presentation of bravado, and walks into the room.
Okay. So yeah, when you come in, the place has a very distinct smell of like strange pungent incense, and then under it the smell of like an abattoir. Right, it's not just the smell of blood. It's not just that copper tang of blood, but like organ meat. You have this kind of like heavy, like weird abattoir butchery like smell in your nose. And you're in a central room where it's like a sort of circular chamber, and there are doors kind of around the outside of the chamber. And when you come in, there is there's a woman standing, and she's dressed just in a black, like a simple black like robe, and she has a white white face paint on, and kind of like opera like makeup, so you could see it exaggerates her features from a distance. So she has like a dark dark pits around her eyes and black lipstick and like long black hair. And when you walk in, she, as if she was just sort of standing there meditating, she opens her eyes and looks over at you, and she has like incongruously blue eyes. Like, it's the only thing that kind of like sets off the look, right? Is that you'd expect them to be like red or black or something, but she's these like kind of pretty blue eyes. And she opens her and she looks at you, and she smiles slightly, and she says, "Well, if the guards let you in, that's a good sign. Do you have an appointment?" She takes a few steps towards you.
Immediately fall down to one knee, lower my head, and, "Oh, great Scourge Diva Judith, this one, Torgor, humbly requests your service." So
the woman, she laughs, but it's polite. It's not like a haha, you moron laugh. She laughs politely and like covers her mouth, and she says, "Oh, you poor confused thing. No, stand up. I'm not the Scourge Diva. I'm just her assistant. She's in a meeting right now, but, well, if the boys outside let you in, then and you say you don't have an appointment."
"Oh, great assistant to this great Scourge Diva Judith. No, I do not have an appointment, but request a meeting nonetheless."
And yeah, she laughs again, and she says, "Oh, you're cute. I like you. Okay, so I have to tell you, and you've come this far, so you must know the risks already, but Judith is picky about who she talks to. If you don't impress her, the likelihood is that she'll probably have you killed, or if you're lucky, she'll do it herself. But if you impress her, then she may deign to let you live, and you can have whatever conversation you came to have. But I have to tell you, I'm not a betting woman, but I don't like your odds. So if you want to stay, bodily and spiritually intact, this is kind of your last opportunity to do so. Now, you seem like a brave, handsome, I'm getting off track. I'm going to let you make your decision." And yeah, like she's being thirsty in a way that a lot of like, this is a normal thing among the Rakdos. Like, they're not shy about how they feel. So yeah, she's definitely hitting on you, but, and this is how she's doing it. She's like, "Listen, if you want to go in there and maybe get your skin ripped off, that's cool, but your skin is real nice. And maybe you could not do that, and we could go get a beer. How about that instead?"
My skin will still be there after I come out, and I'll take you up on that offer.
And she raises an eyebrow, and she's like, "All right." She says, "Well, why don't you wait here, and I'll come get you as soon as the meeting's done. All right? Don't go into any of the other rooms. Just don't. It's better for everyone."
Mm-hmm. Can I immediately do a perception check?
Yeah. Totally. Yeah. What? You just go ahead and make a roll, and then you can ask me what you're looking for.
Right. Let's see where it is. This -1.
5.
Beautiful.
It's good.
I think when this is the first time when she mentions the other rooms that like Torgor is like just like actually like looking at them. Yeah, and I think it's really like a surveillance as to what could be happening in there.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So there's basically two approaches for Rakdos soundproofing. You either soundproof so much that no one could ever imagine hearing what's going on, or you half-ass it on purpose so everyone walking by can hear all the screams. They're terrible, terrible neighbors in an apartment building. So you try to listen in, but it's like you're in a soundproof room. It's like you can't hear a damn thing. And a few minutes pass.
Yeah.
And the door opens again, and you see the assistant, and she's with another woman. This woman, just by looking at her, you definitely know that this is not Judith. But make a religion check, and because it's your guild, you have advantage. I want to see if you recognize this lady by sight. I'll describe her, and then I'll tell you if you recognize who she is.
For sure. Let's see. A religion check. Get out of my way, chat. There you go.
All right, you got 12? Or you got 14 because you have advantage.
14. Oh, yes.
Okay. So I'll describe this woman. So it's the assistant and this. She's a girl, really. She's like maybe like 14. So this girl, she's wearing like essentially a leather like bodysuit with bandoliers and scabbards on it. Covers her from her neck down to her toes. She has gloves on. She's got just at a glance at least a dozen knives of various lengths and serratedness. She's just covered in weapons. She has black hair that's pulled up in a bun, and she's got a metal spike stuck through it, which you're sure is another opportunity to kill somebody. It's got another weapon stuck through it. She has white face paint and two little red circles. She's it's like a doll's face. She has like two little red circles and like just her bottom lip in red. And like purple eye makeup on this like weird white kind of face paint. Definitely think more like creepy doll and less geisha. Just to help you get that idea. So as they're coming out, the girl is saying, "So do you want me to do it in any specific order or just all of them at once?" And the assistant says, "The Lady Judith is not picky. We know you're going to get the work done." And she nods, and she says, the kid nods, and she's like, "Fuck yeah, I am. That's what I live for. Thanks." And she slaps the assistant on the butt and then jogs out of the room. And she stops halfway when she sees you, and she looks at you and like looks way up at you, and she's like, "I warmed her up for you," and like hits you with her elbow, and jogs past you. Now you recognize the girl's like general outfit and effect. She's definitely like a member of like a spiker gang. But you don't know like what gang she belongs to. That's really a different branch of the Rakdos. Like you're the performing branch. She's like part of the wandering murder hobos branch of the guild that basically just like causes chaos and murders people and rides around on flaming motorcycles. But yeah, and she's just this kid, and she gives you a little nudge like, "Yeah, we had a good meeting. I warmed her up for you. Get in there, champ." And then jogs past you. The assistant gives you an apologetic look, like, I'm sorry that you had to interact with that kid. She's a lot. But she says, "The Scourge Diva will meet with you now."
Terrific.
So,
and
So you want to get led in there? Okay. All right. So the inside of Judith's office is it's like a combination of like 80s executive decor. So she has this like huge desk, and on it she would have she has one of those like where you lift the ball and it hits the other balls, and whatever those are called, the little like executive desk toy, but it's made out of bones. It's got little like hand bones hanging from it. On one wall, there is a beautiful painting of Rix Mahdi in like the middle of a festival. So you see Rakdos like with lava dripping off of him, and you see all the revelers and everything. And you realize as you look at it, that based on the size and the way that it's not in a frame, it's pinned to the wall along this uneven edge. It's painted on an enormous skin. Like the thing, it would have to be a worm because the skin is so big. And so they've like flayed a worm and painted this sign on. And so she's got that on one wall. On the other, she has like a trophy case with a bunch of various like weapons and bones and like horns and stuff that she's sort of claimed from her enemies over time. And those are on one wall. And then, we see Judith, and Judith is wearing right now, she's not wearing her like full performance gear. So she probably has like a black leather, like pencil skirt, and then a blouse, like a silk blouse. And she has her her hair in a like a headscarf. Basically, she has her head like wrapped up, so you can just see her face, and the scarf is like wrapped around, and it's made out of like black silk. She has pale makeup on and bright red lipstick, but she's definitely playing it down, because you've seen Judith like at work before, and she has like she wears like a big, enormous, like fancy, scary dress covered in spikes and stuff. But this is her office attire. And when you come in, she is writing something in a ledger. She's got a quill, and you come in, and she looks up. And she kind of like squints at you as if getting the measure of you as you walk up towards her desk. She stands up and she gives you a little like a nod and says, I don't have long. I'm very busy, but you're lucky. Somehow you found a few minutes in my schedule that aren't full. My assistant says your name is Torgor. What operation are you from? What can I do for you, Torgor?
Well, my wondrous Scourge Diva, it is not what you can do for me, but what I can do for you. And I want to do, I would like to tell Torgor's story. In like a performative manner of like sort of this idea of interweaving the notion of Planeswalkers into it, of like what he's been going into, but the only person that Torgor discusses is Dovin Ban. There's a threat.
So you're like, I have a story for you, and you tell her, okay, so about
like worlds beyond our existence, about the interlopers and how on our plane we know it as it is, and it's existed, and we've had issues with the other guilds, but we've been allowed to thrive.
Yeah.
But now there's Dovin Ban. And let me tell you something about him. If there's anyone who's crazy enough to believe that Dovin is a planeswalker, it's going to be the Rakdos. Like the idea that this like potentiality could exist.
It's like, it's such a great story too. Cause it's like, hey, you know, the chief cop everybody hates, he's also a malignant space alien. So like, let's go get him, right? Like so you want to tell this story. Let's have you make a performance check. So you do some spoken word. This is how this is your pitch meeting, right? Judith she sees you're going to be a minute. She lights a cigarette. She's got one of those like long black like cigarette holders. She lights a cigarette. She leans back and she just listens to you. She's got kind of almost like a Cruella de Vil kind of vibe. Like that's kind of what I'm thinking. Like she's in her early 60s. She obviously takes real good care of herself. She's like mom of the sort of slightly higher class, like, and she's also a blood witch. And so she kind of like leans back and, takes a drag on the cigarette, and she listens to your story. And, if you don't have it already, feel free to take inspiration if you want to use it on this
Ooh, no need. Already rolled.
There you go. 22.
Right.
Excellent. So turns out Torgor's pretty good at this whole like storytelling spoken word thing.
And there's a lot of performance in it of this notion, and like talking about the journey of like tracking down who this person is and all the problems that has come is like the Orzhov's now after me. Like it is a thing that like, and in doing so, I stand before you circusless, for even my own family turned on me in order to serve this inferior greater master. We have traitors within our own guild that would rather see order placed upon us than allow us to live in our revelry. And then like it culminates in just this ask of like, I've learned things, and I know that the guilds are gathering, and I know there will be representation needed from the Rakdos. I do not ask to go in your stead, but I ask to go as your guard.
She listens to the story and does that thing where while she's an intentionally bad audience, where like while you're telling the story, she has no reaction. Like you'll talk about it at like a part where you're like, oh, this is an impressive part. She's gonna, but nothing.
And then I swung and I attacked a griffin in the air. Did not miss.
And she just kind of like listens. And when you're finished, she stubs out her cigarette in a ashtray you're pretty sure is made out of a human skull. And she says, she's like, it's a very interesting story, Torgor. And I'm surprised you know as much as you do. You told me things in that story that's privileged information. You mentioned that we have infiltrators in the cult. And she stands up while she's saying this. You can hear her impossibly high heels clicking on the stone floor as she walks around the desk. Mm-hmm. And she sits on the desk, right? Leans against it, folds one knee over the other, and eyeballs you. She's all up close now. She eyeballs you, and she says, "Do you have a name for any of these traitors we should be on the lookout for?"
Within the Rakdos, there are none that I can say with certainty, but I can give you an inkling on my former circus master, Kerfuffle.
So when you say it, she squints and she says, couldn't give me a name. You're sure? Not even Kerfuffle? I mean, I know the two of you haven't exactly gotten along lately. Mm-hmm. Maybe he's spying on the cult. Maybe he needs to be removed. Put someone else in charge.
This someone would have to be one who already has the respect and command of the circus. One who probably already knows all the folks involved there. One who is known to be a great performer.
Is that what you want, Torgor? To have your own circus, to be ringleader? Because it's clear you have the talent, and personally, that kerfuffle always rubbed me the wrong way. It would be no small thing for me, or no large thing for me to just have him removed and you put in his place, but don't you think you're a bit more ambitious than that?
There is more that I want.
Good. Mm-hmm. What is it?
A line of communication to Rakdos himself.
Ah, we do have big dreams. Well, you have to know what a rare honor that is.
I do not come asking it lightly. Knowing first to approach the illustrious, the wonderful Scourge Diva was the only option.
And she smiles and she says, so, you're smart and you're cute. I like it. And she says, yeah, this is the thing. This is a given of the universe, is that everybody that Road wants to think Road is hot just thinks Torgor's hot instead.
Yes.
I'm dying.
Oh yeah, did I forget to tell you, Road? They gave you.
I don't hate it.
Road, they gave you in your dossier. They gave you a boyfriend. His name is Derek.
Yeah,
he works in the patent office.
Yo, he hot though, or
he's a 6 out of 10.
He's an Azoria Senate 7, but he's like a Ravnica 5.
He's also a fucking cop, so he
probably looks like
he's got a dog. He likes hiking.
He looks like Gabe from The Office.
Yeah,
did you say that you like to travel in your Tinder?
No, all of his Tinder pictures are him with his dog. There is one of him holding a fish though, which is shows he's outdoorsy.
Flashbacks.
Oh man,
I'm excited that we can traumatize Katie May even in a scene that Road isn't in.
I'm so excited to meet this boy who wears socks and sandals.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
Derek,
he loves live music. He's seen Fish 3 times in concert.
Triska's boyfriend and my boyfriend are just best friends. It's the worst.
Oh, we're going on a double date on Saturday? Applebee's?
Oh yeah, it's our classic Saturday double date.
Fantastic. Yep.
They're roommates.
So, meanwhile, in the dungeon palace of Rick's Muddy, where all the cool people hang out,
where Road wishes she was.
Yeah, exactly. So Judith says to you, you say that she's like you're smart and you're cute. I like that. She says, I can't promise you an audience with Rakdos the Great. He's very busy. And with all this business with Niv Mizzet, I don't anticipate that's going to change anytime soon.
Mhm.
But I think I could find a place for you in my circus. It's a bit different than what you're used to. All that clown business with Kerfuffle, it's fine for everyone else, but our performances are special. They are our way of celebrating great Rakdos, an offering every time we take the stage. I have to know that you are devoted to our Dark Lord. Are you, Torgor? Have you accepted Rakdos into your heart?
Yes, absolutely. In whatever ways, this mission though feels slimy because he is doing like kind of double crossing the Rakdos. In Torgor's mind, is more like a triple cross, in the notion that like it's like now I'm just ingratiating yourself more and more in my home. So yeah, 1,000%.
Yeah,
of course.
Yeah. So she she smiles and gives you the up and down. She's like, what are you, like a extra large? I'll have them put together an outfit. In the meantime, and she says, she says, like gesturing, I have other meetings. What I need you to do is that story that you told me. Talk to my assistant. She'll get you the materials you need. We'll find you an office to work out of. I need you to write it all down. We're going to need a script to work off of if we're going to make this into something performable.
It would be my honor.
Good. Now, get out of my office.
Open or closed?
She smiles like, all right, good. I made the right decision. This one's adequately obsequious. And she says, oh, you can leave it open, sweetheart.
Just like continually like not losing eye contact of the floor in front of her as I like bow and like backpedal out.
Yo, it's always open for Torgor though.
The question is, he go through the door.
Outfit.
If he gets
he
it
also gets an outfit.
Yeah, I mean,
you got a house. Why are you still upset? Road is never happy.
Hey, live, laugh, love, Road. Okay,
yeah, Road.
That's what you have to sign.
Go back to yoga. What are you doing?
I'm so mad.
I mean, I think we can all imagine what the woman who is colloquially known as the Mominatrix will dress Torgor in. So yeah,
your boy hopes it's leather.
Oh yeah. Lots of straps. There'll be a harness involved.
Oh my gosh, it's gonna squeak when he walks. I'm so excited.
Also, I just remember that Torgor looks like a tan cowboy because that's what he said he looked like.
It's gonna have fringe on it. It's gonna have some suede fringe. He's just gonna be oily for no reason.
Yeah. So your day today now, Torgor, will be leading a group of like Rakdos. Jesus Christ, a Rakdos writer's room it's oh man.
True chaos.
Like the standard writer's room is enough. This one, everyone in it is an insane demon worshipping clown, which I guess isn't that different. But yeah, so your job over the next few days will be crafting a stage version of the life up to now of Torgor. And it'll be a story, basically a story about how shitty the cops are and how Dovin is the worst cop of all of them because he's not even from Ravnica. He's a weird interloper from another dimension. And it'll be about basically the plan of this is what Judith wants, because the Rakdos don't just entertain, right? They want to change hearts and minds. The plan here is to explicitly write a combination play/ritual, right? Circus performance/ritual that will instill in people a murderous intent aimed at members of the Azoria Senate. You want to make people want to go out and cause trouble for or murder Senate members. This is how the Rakdos work. They're like, we're going to target them, Dovin specifically. So there are going to be scenes of people like capturing and destroying ornithopters. The main villain will be Dovin, which we'll do as like I don't know, maybe like a giant puppet, right? Like he's a big scary puppet. And then we'll have to get a bunch of like fake Azorius and we'll dress them up. Maybe we'll capture a real member of the Azorius and put them in the show and have them get
Billy,
killed
I
on
like
stage.
where your head's at. That's good. That's great.
Yeah,
That's
right.
great stuff. Yeah.
So yeah, you go into this whole thing, and over the next little while, when you're not busy doing guild work, you're leading this group, and then you'll be doing dress rehearsals and like casting and all this stuff. And basically, I think if you want to, this can be it's definitely both a written and directed by Torgor.
Yeah.
But if you want, it can be written, directed by, and starring Torgor, if you were willing to take on that responsibility.
Yes.
Yeah.
Only because real life Masood doesn't have to deal with the stress and
Right.
the idea of making.
Thankfully, you can just make a directing role and you don't have to worry about it. Make a performance role. You're good. You don't have to go through the whole nightmare process of this thing. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, actually, this makes sense for everybody to do some downtime, right? So like you have a little bit of time. I guess here's my question though, before we do this. Because Tack, you had mentioned, and maybe it'll just be another scene of Tack being the only one that gets to witness the Planeswalkers in action. But Tack, you mentioned something about wanting to sneak into the guild meeting, right? Because that's the next big that's the next big world event. So
I'm ready.
I think
Road's definitely
here's what you know, right? So Road, you know that Vraska is going to be in attendance as the new leader of the Golgari, right? Because you have access to the guest list, right? Niv Mizzet as leader of the Izzet will be there to hold the meeting. It's his meeting, right? Supreme Judge Isperia and Dovin Ban are both going to be there, right? Dovin as assistant to the Supreme Judge, so she's going to be there. I believe, and I couldn't find a specific guest list in the like lore of Ravnica because this is like an event that actually happens. So I don't have anywhere like who attends from the Rakdos, but I'm gonna say Rakdos himself probably shows up.
Now.
He makes appearances, right? Mm-hmm. So yeah, Rakdos will be there. I think he goes alone because he's big and scary and not afraid of anybody. The Dryads, the 3 Dryads that make up the leadership of the Selesnians, they go. I think representing the Gruul is some guy named Domri. You've never heard of him before, but also like who's in charge of the Gruul? Like they have a Cyclops who's in charge, but he's not coming. He's sending this Domri in his stead. But yeah, it's a big list of like important people and their various bodyguards and assistants. Do you want to try to like be present for that meeting, Road? Or
Yeah, I think that if.
Yeah, Borborigmos is the name of the Gruul Cyclops, but yeah,
it
he's
sounded
not.
like you were making up another Torgor cousin. Is what it sounded like.
No, Bor is a syllable that is well known amongst the Gruuls.
I see. And yeah, Road's gonna try and go if she thinks that Dovin's gonna do some clowning around. I think for sure she'll sneak her way onto like a volunteers for like seating people and handing out pamphlets sort of bullshit.
Yeah.
Just around.
Okay, cool. All right. I think the thing is like you can't go as like a guest of the Senate, but in true like parliamentary fashion, every member of the various guilds that are coming is assigned an aide, right? They're assigned somebody who is gonna like get them water and like, you know, take notes for them and like basically just like take care of them, like keep track of their business. So you're able to get assigned as an aide. And I think, I don't know, do you have a preference for who you're assisting? Like, is there a guild in particular?
I think it's like very prestigious to be like assigned your own guild. So I think Road tried and failed because like an intern was like, I've been working for 3 years on this. I'll kill you. It's like everyone has like custom clipboards in my head. It's very, very cherished event. And I think that they were probably like, oh, you did like 5 months at the Simic, go do that.
Oh, cool.
Oh,
Okay.
okay.
Yeah. Well, oh, that's so, God, it's such like inner office, like shitty assumption. Like, all right, so we need to assign somebody to be in charge of keeping an eye on the Simic. Road, you're part tentacle. Why don't you do it?
Those are the exact words that were said. Tentacle? I don't know.
Nice.
Yeah, so I think that's what happened.
Okay, cool. So at this point, let's see. Yeah, the Obsidat, the like ghosts that run the Orzhov. Originally, their name is on the list, but it's been crossed off, and there's another name. It just says Kaya on it. You don't recognize that name, and I guess we can just kind of cut to like I can describe the scene and what everybody is seeing.
Yeah.
Tack, tell me about your plan to sneak in and get into this meeting. Do you have an angle? How do you want to get in on that?
First, TK must pledge to the
I'm
stick.
sorry.
okay.
I'm sorry. I have to sneeze and I don't want it ending up on a fetish site, so I'm going to mute it.
You have expressed this fear several times to us today.
Yeah,
It
that's
is
good.
scary to know that it comes from a real place.
A real fear. It's a real fear that we live with every day.
I'm serious. I don't want anybody making money off my sneezes except me. My ears are really stopped up and I'm sorry. What was the question?
How do you get into the guild summit? How do you make yourself present?
Is the summit indoors or outdoors? I need to know because the only thing that I have to compare like a guild summit or something like that, because I don't leave my house, is like when I was a kid, I was super, super religious and they had like a multi-church mega church conference.
Sure.
Is it like that? Is it inside a bigger church?
Let me see if there's any official art of the guild summit. I think there's a card called Guild Summit that might have the art.
Oh, that's beautiful. Thank you.
And if Tack was like, leave this door open for me at this time, Road would do that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. You know what? Yeah, I think that Tack would, bolstered by like Atrax's sort of like tough love. I think Tack would start trying to take a more active approach to the conspiracy stuff. And so they would eventually, if they saw Road again, be like, hey, what's going on in the kitchen? But then I think Road would also get like a flashback of the entire building being on fire. So that probably,
yeah.
Maybe we should.
Yeah, I think we had like a long lunch where I was like, I'll let you in, but no fires.
No.
And then when you agreed, I was like,
okay,
holy shit.
but like,
So what is Tack pretending? Because like, is it literally like Road is like, I'm gonna go out for a smoke break and then just prop the back door open and you can slip in? Is it like I'm gonna take the admit one stamp and we're just gonna rub our wrists together, you come in on my stamp? Or like what's the angle? And are you gonna be hiding in the shadows the whole time, or is it a like pretending to be someone else, like pretending to be the like a member of the catering team or something?
like, I don't want chat to get mad at me or anything. The reason people pretend to be the help when they're doing heists is because it works.
Yeah.
All the time. It works all the time. So Tack will take some kind of position as like a dishwasher or something like that. Or like, since it's a summit, I assume it's going to be mostly business. So
there's likely to be, and you know this because of Road's intelligence, there's an intermission, right? Where like people can go, it's like an hour-long intermission where the guild members can go and they can like talk about what they've been talking about with each other, and they can have little sidebar meetings and stuff. So like Tack's job is not to be like a waiter or something like that, because what they'll do is they're not gonna, like, if I know anything about like serving, and I do because I have worked at country clubs, they're going to choose attractive servers that are tall enough to be seen at like just below eye level. They're not going to change like the size. The other weird thing about this is because it's a fantasy world. We have like Vraska, right? Who is a guild leader, who is human size. We're gonna have Dovin, and we're gonna have Ral there, right? They're human size. But then also Niv Mizzet, Isperia, and Rakdos, who are all like 20 feet tall. Like they're huge giants. Like Isperia is the size of a small building. So,
but as big as they are, they're going to have their own like accessible crew and things like that, because they're not just going to pick up a champagne flute off of off of a tray. They're just not. It's unreasonable. But for something that's being run, especially by the Izzet or Azorius, they're going to want it to be as fast and efficient as possible. So Tack's going to be in the kitchen, like pouring drinks or something, not out serving.
Yeah. That makes sense. Okay. Cool. All right. So I'm making a guest list. So
also, was Vraska on the guest list?
Yeah, Vraska is on the like the list. It's just they knew she wouldn't come unless they arrested her and made her come to the meeting. So yeah, it's one of those things. They're gonna bring her out. Obviously, she's alone. But they probably won't like handcuff her or put a bag over her head.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So, and also because the summit is like such a big thing, I think that, and because Vraska absolutely expected to be there, I think Tak would also be in the kitchen to see if there are any other Golgari there too.
Yeah.
So like that's one of their big things, is like looking for other Golgari that are like just hanging out, being like, hey. And like try to see if there's like an old Kron thing. Like mostly Tak is staying out of sight, out of mind, so that they can see if there's like a Golgari thing about to go down, or if it's gonna be just Vraska.
Yeah, totally.
They want to see the heist.
Let me see. Oh, I keep forgetting like the guilds that we never interact with. I just forget they exist. Yeah. Like the Boros. I'm like, oh yeah, they're still a thing. So the Boros. Did they send Aurelia? I don't know who their guild leader is. I know Aurelia is a big deal, but let me double check here. Okay. Boros Legion. Okay. Founded by Razia, but they're not alive anymore. Let's see. I think it's Aurelia.
Oh, that's so loud, please.
Yes. Yeah. Aurelia arrives. God, and there's such showboats too. So, okay. So here's the Boros. Everybody starts like arriving at the summit. So, and this would be a big media event, right? So ironically, members of the House Demir are part of the like reportage, like the press basically in this world. So there's all these reporters with cameras outside, like snapping pictures. These are political leaders, but they're also the celebrities of Ravnica. So people are making a big deal about how they're arriving. And so Niv Mizzet arrives first. And he arrives by way of the power of his own wings, because he can fly. He's an enormous dragon. He's like tens of thousands of years old. So he flies in here and he goes to the summit building. And the summit itself, the Great Hall, is it's like an enormous sort of parliament kind of like, I'm imagining like an ancient Greek amphitheater kind of thing, big white columns all the way around, like a big dome ceiling. It would have to be big enough to fit Niv, Rakdos, and Isperia all kind of at once. And so, yeah, Niv Mizzet arrives first to begin preparations. Isperia is already here, and the two of them, along with Dovin Ban and Ral Zarek, have like a conversation beforehand. Vraska is brought up probably like near the end, brought up from the prison, and to her for her dignity, she is unshackled before she's escorted in. It's not like they bring her in handcuffs. That'd be a massive insult to the Golgari, which she would not be stoked about. Aurelia and General, I think his name is Taj. The two of them arrive, and they arrive, of course, in their fucking giant airship. They have a giant gold airship called the Parhelion, and it arrives in the sky, and then the two of them fly down from it. It's this big thing. There's trumpets, and everybody's very, very impressed by it. Nobody shows up from the Demir because they weren't invited, or they were invited and they didn't show up, or knowing the Dimir, like one of the waiters is the guildmaster of House Dimir. Like they just don't have any official presence. Yeah, General Tajik, that's his name. Yeah. The Selesnian, the Dryad Trinity, I forget what they're called, the Tristani, I think. It's 3 dryads that share a consciousness. They arrive with a whole bunch of their like priests. There's a big procession of white-clad like elves and Loxodon that bear them here, and they bring a palanquin that is covered in soil with a tree on it. So they bring in this tree and they set it down in the guild hall, and the dryads emerge from the tree as if like it's difficult for them to exist outside of nature. So they bring their little park, and I think it's Vanifar that comes from the Simic. Vanifar is I think she's the same kind of mutant that you are, actually. Let's have a scene with her, because I think that the two of you, I think she would actually you'd have an interesting conversation with her. So let's find. I want to find her card. She is extremely cool. I think you're gonna like her a lot.
Same, but hotter.
She's the prime speaker of the Simic. She is a scientist, and she is the target of her own experiments. Her creature type in Magic is Elf Ooze Wizard. So yeah, she's semi-transparent. She's got lots of tentacles. Yeah, I think the two of you will get along. Let me
adopt me.
let me show you what she looks like, because I think it's pretty fun. Okay, so Vanifar arrives, and I think that she shows up probably in like a carriage drawn by some kind of like Simic mutant. And you are the first person that meets her, Road. You have to go out and like, meet with her there. And so, yeah, you see this sort of like creature with a big shell on its back, like scuttle up to the front entrance, and then its shell opens, and inside there's a little room with a bench and like a little carriage, and she steps out. Prime Speaker Vanifar steps out, and that's what she looks like. She's blue. She has a slight glow to her. She's semi-transparent. She's wearing this long gown that looks like it's made out of like seaweed and like phosphorescence. And she has several like tendrils that come out of the sort of back of her spine that are kind of like wiggling in the air. She steps out and she looks around, and you are the person standing there with your clipboard. What do you say? Do you say anything to her when she gets out, or do you let her introduce herself?
Yeah. Oh gosh, no. Oh no. Road is nervous. Road. I do think maybe Road was like had almost like an admiration for this person. I think, there was maybe a reason why Road picked jellyfish. I think. Oh no. So I think that Road is like, oh, this was an actual hero of mine, and okay. So I think Road just takes a second, steps forward, does a little like head nod, like half curtsy kind of thing. He was like, esteemed Guildmaster, welcome.
And she gives you a nod, and she says, so you're to be my assistant?
Yes. Just please let me know if there's anything that you require, and I will get it right away.
She nods, and she gives you a long look and says, you're a hybrid?
Yes.
That's unusual among the Azorius.
Yes, I did. I spent some time in the Simic.
And she takes a half step closer to you and like raises her hand a little bit, and she says, may I?
Of course.
And she puts a hand on the side of your face and like looks at your eyes, and then she I think she like takes one of your arms and just brushes her fingers over one of your like tenderly bits, and she looks at you and says, brilliant work. I can't believe the project would have let you go.
Yep, family called, so
I understand. And she kind of makes a look like curious, but doesn't say anything else. And then she gestures towards this big amphitheater, and she says, please, like, show me where I have to go. let's do the thing.
Of course, right this way. I am blushing, but I'm a jellyfish, so no one can see it.
Slight Pikachu sparks around the cheeks is how you can tell.
As I.
Now, if you want to safeguard this new crush, never let her meet Torgor.
Never ever.
Yeah.
She'll be Winnegar's best friend, and now
6 months into the relationship, she's like, you still haven't let me meet any of your friends. You're like, you don't need to meet them. Don't worry about it. They suck.
They're fine. They suck.
Yeah.
Now I want to do a good job. I was previously like, oh, let's not do a good job and pay attention to what's going on. But now I'm like, do a good job. Make her love me. Oh no.
Yep.
Oh no. All right. I've tried to do a good job. That's fine.
I think here's the thing. So Torgor, you can't get your writer's room to do any goddamn work today because everybody has either like been like, I can't come in. I broke both my arms and my legs. I gotta in the circus last night, right? Or they show up and they're super distracted because all anyone wants to do is like find out what's going on about. They all want to like leave and go to this guild summit. Where there's no inside, there's no like, it's like a courtroom. So there's no reporting from like direct, there's no cameras. Even Dovinban's Thopters have to like symbolically like turn away from the summit because it's private, but there are reporters who are like talking about it and like guessing and like interviewing pundits on the front steps to be like, if you had to tell us what this meeting would be about, what would you say? And then the pundit is all like, well, I've studied the Izzet League for 20 years. And so what I think Niv Mizzet is trying to do, it's very like news cycle caught up around things they don't actually understand or can't talk about. So there's a ton of like sort of bullshit coverage, but everybody's really excited about it. They all want to know what's going on. This is the closest they can get. So what do you do? Do you crack the literal and metaphorical whip and keep working? Or are you like, all right, everybody, let's just take a fucking sick day and.
Well, let me see. And I want to confer how good my intimidation is before I make the right choice. I think Torgor. Yes, I think he tries to intimidate them into getting back into work, particularly because I don't know when this show needs to go up. In my mind, I think part of it was like, am I demonstrating this as a part of the summit? Is this like going up to showcase the other like guilds? Like there's a level to which like, yo, Rakdos might literally see this. And so there's like and also Judith is now looking after me. So yeah,
if what you create is enough to impress Judith, because she has a direct line to Rakdos. The two of them, they talk, right? Sometimes they actually communicate, but if she prays to Rakdos, unlike everybody else, Rakdos hears it and listens. So if she is impressed by your work, she will definitely tell Rakdos. And if Rakdos is interested or intrigued, he'll be like, yes, I will come and watch this. Which is both the best and worst thing that can happen to a member of the Rakdos cult. Because if Rakdos likes it, then you suddenly become a big deal, at least for a while, right? Where he's like, nope, this one, my personal playwright, right? Right? He like, he'll use you for your talents. If Rakdos doesn't like it, everyone in the production dies. Like just dies horribly because he can't have losers in his organization. And if he doesn't like your work. So yeah, like it's a big opportunity, but it might also be an opportunity to be killed by your boss. So
I think Torgor goes up to the rooms like, hey, listen up, you chuckle fucks. All right, I know a lot of stuff is happening out there, but come on. We've got a play to write, and the show must go on. And let's see if that is enough.
Yeah, you want to intimidate them? How'd you do? What'd you get?
21.
21. All right. So you were able to wrangle your writers, and despite their desperate interest in the new things, they stick around. They do their job. Nice work. Cool. Okay.
Thank you, Roll20, for being in my favor today.
Right.
And I've been looking at you, Katie, every time I've been rolling, just be like, please don't let it come on. Please don't run past to me.
Just looking over like, that's not me. Here we go.
Yeah, I don't want that. Okay, I have and I know this is a lot of NPCs at once, but this is the kind of like red carpet moment where we're seeing all these characters. So I want to show you, this is the two people, and I think that you would notice them arriving because they arrive in like terrifying vampire carriage. Like it's a big Orzhov arrival, right? It's a big ornate Baroque gold and black carriage, the old timey carriage. It's being pulled by ghost horses. It's got a like a semi-corporeal carriage driver with a big tall top hat. You can't see his face, he's all shadows. It's like whipping the ghost horses along. And when they arrive, now everybody knows up until recently, and it happened off screen, so it wasn't as like obvious to us because like Tack wasn't there. But the Orzhov also underwent a change, and they have new leaders as well. So the two people that arrive, there are two women that get out of this carriage. It's not the three old ghosts that used to run the show. It's these two ladies instead. So let me grab their cards and I'll show you.
Are you gonna make me sad that I didn't join the Orzhov?
I might. Yeah, they're both very hot.
Yes.
Oh no.
See, how come you were able to say that they were hot, but when I ask, you're all, oh no, she is hot.
They both are. Yeah. So
Kaya,
yeah. So let me we'll stop cheating chat out of their ability to look at these two cool ladies. So
they don't need to see that.
So there's two of them, Kaya and Teza, and Teza is an advisor to Kaya, who all anybody knows is that Kaya showed up at the Orzhov one day, went into the Obdazat meeting room, killed all three of them, and was like, I'm in charge now. And that was it. And everybody was just like, okay, yeah, sure. So what's interesting, though, is that Torgor, there will be a point at some time when you go home.
Oh God!
And you have a letter, and this probably terrifies you, but there is a letter addressed to Torgor from the Orzhov, right? From the Department of Debt Reclamation. And it basically says when you get it, it's terrifying because you're like, oh shit, are they going to come and get my soul order? But as you read it, it says, it is our pleasure, and by order of Kaya, Guildmaster of the Orzhov, that we relieve you of your debt to the Orzhov Syndicate. That all past debts that you once owed to the Orzhov, done. Gone, completely forgiven. Go forth. You are now your own man. You're freed of your debts. So there was a moment where Torgor would get that letter at home.
Yeah. Winnegar's not here, but that's the night that we all go party.
Yeah. Well, I think it's like interesting. He goes out, he looks at the letter, and it's like this weight goes off him. He's like, oh, I'm gonna go outside, and then he goes to like smoke a cigarette, and he's like, I don't want to do this anymore. And like that's the moment where his cigarette edition just like ends when he no longer has a terminal life limit. Yeah, right. You now have your whole life ahead of you, and this debt is just like lifted and gone. Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah. So
is
now
there a lipstick mark at the bottom?
No, but it does have Kaya's like personal seal. And then is ratified by Teza Karlov, Orzhov advisor, and it has like all this important information on it. Yeah,
they're so beautiful.
I'm gonna do a little bit of note searching, but I just want to double check what is the road's actual name because we have.
Yeah.
Boshka?
I think yeah. Let me.
Borshka.
Okay. Just making sure that none of the names.
I remembered so.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, Ministrant. Her name is Ministrant Vashka, but you don't know if that's like her real name or like the identity she was using or whatever. But yeah, that was the name that you learned that was hers. So yeah, Road, you see these two beautiful goth lesbians arrive in their carriage and walk arm in arm into the summit. Which then eventually begins. And so
there's so many hot women here. Holy shit.
Ravnica has lots of awesome ladies and ladies of color in positions of like significant power, right? Kaya is a great example of that, where she's just like, oh, look at these old dead ghost guys. Fuck them. Kills them all. I'm in charge now. We're going to change things. She's great. I like her.
Kaya said lesbian rights.
Damn right.
Hell yeah.
So
I'm in love with her and Tasia as a power couple.
Yeah. I just imagine them hanging out with Ral and Tomic, but then afterwards just making fun of them mercilessly when they're not there anymore.
Oh my god, yes.
So how do I die for you?
So you go into this meeting, right? And it begins, as all of these sorts of things do, it begins with a long reading of like the honored guests. So this is how you get names and like positions for all of these people, right? And they go through all of the people, like listing off like, you know, honored prime speaker Vanifar of the Simic League, creator of and so everybody gets like a 10-minute spiel. All of the leaders do. They save Isperia, Supreme Judge, as last, right? Because it's her house. And yeah, we get this very clear scene of like all of these like massively powerful entities who have been drawn here by Niv Mizzet. And at the end of all the introductions of that hour or so of talk, Isperia, she turns to Niv Mizzet and she says, honored guests, Guildmasters, and her voice is just like booming and resonant. And like, if she said, lie down, most of the people in the room would just lie down without thinking about it. Like her word is literally law. So she is probably having to control her like mind control powers. And she says, honored guests, welcome to New Prav. This is my home, but this is not my meeting. And she turns and she says, Perun. And Niv Mizzet sort of takes the stage. And again, this guy is a 17,000-year-old dragon. He's used to having people listen to him. And I don't have like a word for word like speech, but basically here's what Niv Mizzet tells everyone present, which includes Tack and Rode. So he says, first of all, there is a grave threat to Ravnica. My assistant, and he points to Ral, who's just like clearly annoyed at being called anyone's assistant, but it's true. My assistant and I have been working on a project to measure fluctuations, changes in the planar distribution of certain particles. And you can see immediately everyone's like, Jesus Christ, Niv, you fucking nerd. No one cares. And he sees that he's starting to like lose people right away. And he says, there is an alien presence that is threatening Ravnica. Enemies from without are threatening our world. We must do something to protect it. And there's like whispers amongst the you can see even the guild, like the guild leaders kind of are making faces like, that's insane. Vanifar is one of them who is just like, this doesn't make sense. The Boros, I think at one point, General Tajik like gets up and like slams his gauntleted fist on his podium and says like, stop wasting our time with fairy tales, Niv. And then Aurelia, this like fucking fire-winged angel, like puts her hand on his shoulder, like, calm down, dude. It's okay. Like, let's listen them out. And they're getting annoyed because basically Niv Mizzet gets everybody together and says like, yeah, there are other planes and there are these creatures. They're coming to Ravnica to mess with us. It's the equivalent of saying like aliens are threatening America. Like no one believes him.
What's Dovin doing?
Dovin Band, you can make an insight check, but do it with disadvantage because Dovin Band is a difficult man to read.
I also am keeping my like Demir earpiece like up. I'm paying special attention to it. Yep. Insight, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Here we go. Oh my god.
Okay. I mean, he's Dovin Band. He has one facial expression. Right. He just looks slightly bored. And he's fidgeting with I think we talked about him having like a little like a device of some kind fidget that he's spinner, constantly, he's got his little extra planar fidget spinner. But otherwise he's just listening and absorbing information. Ral is already like pacing a little bit and like he's a moment away from, I told you this wasn't going to work. Let's get out of here. Like this is pointless. Like you can see he's already kind of given up. But there's all this like sort of chatter and then it calms down. And Niv says to the and I think Isperia is sort of helping Niv Mizzet, right? She is the one that brings everyone to order. I think she says something like quiet, and everybody kind of like whoa, like backs down a little bit. And then Niv Mizzet turns and says, "Thank you, Isperia." And he turns back to the crowd and says, "I know that this sounds insane to you, and I know that you probably don't believe me, which is going to make the next thing that I request of you even more difficult. We have to set aside our differences and work together. And there's some like mumbling and you see Vraska sneers like, fuck you, work together, my ass. And he says, there is someone who is not present in this meeting. They're not here by design. I chose to hold this meeting during a time when he would not be present in Ravnica. I speak, of course, of the living Guildpact. And everybody kind of like looks around like, what does Jace Beleren have to do with anything? And Niv Mizzet says, the man we call Jace Beleren is in himself a dangerous threat, not by his action, but by his inaction. His inability to remain in Ravnica for any period of time hamstrings all of us, weakens the structures of the guilds. And you can see him kind of take a breath, like he's confident, but he knows this is going to be the hardest thing to get through. He's like, my assistant and I have prepared a procedure, a protocol, which I believe will allow us to remove the status of Guildpact from Jace Beleren and imbue another suitable sentient with that power. And everybody's like looking around like, what? But like, you can see that they generally agree that Jace being the Guildpact hasn't been very helpful, yeah. Right? That he does tend to just go missing and like, he hasn't really fulfilled all of the promise the original living Guildpact situation should have done. And so, you know, there's some nervous looks. And then you see Vraska realize it first, where she's like, oh, here we go. I see what he's about to do. And he says, to that end, I would like to volunteer myself for that burden. And immediately there's just like an uproar, right? Where like Tajik is like, see, it's just an opportunity for you to seize control. And Vanifar shakes her head like, oh, Niv, come on. Like, you can't possibly mean it. And so just the whole thing like just is in an uproar. Even Asperia doesn't bang the gavel to be like, calm down, like hear him out. She turns to Dove and Ban and the two of them start talking. And there's just chaos in the room as everybody is like shouting over one another. And Niv looks at Ral. Ral gives him a look like, I fucking told you, boss, they're not going to do it. And things kind of like dissolve into chaos right at the beginning of the meeting. Niv is trying to explain himself. He's like, please, you have to listen. There are things at play here that you couldn't possibly understand. We've been working for ages on this. The threat and no one is listening to him. And I think he turns to Asperia and says to her, like, please, can you get them under control? And she looks at him and she says, I'm disappointed, Niv Mizzet. This is transparent even for you. And he looks like hurt, like personally like wounded by this. And he turns to Ral and he shakes his head, his big sad dragon head. And he says quietly, but enough that I think we can hear it. He says, I'm sorry, old friend, you were right. Let's go. And Ral gives him a look like, well, buddy, you tried. And he gets up on Niv Mizzet's shoulder. And Niv turns to the group, and they see that he's gonna bail. That he realizes he can't win them over. That he's giving up on this. He says, "There's going to come a time soon when you're all going to regret this. And I don't mean that to frighten you. It's not too late. I'm going back to my sanctuary. If you change your mind, please come to me. Things are going to get worse for Ravnica soon. And if that's what it takes to open your eyes, then so be it." And he, big flap of his mighty wings, the air in the place kind of like tumbles. It's like a helicopter taking off, and he takes off and leaves. And when he leaves, it's an indication that like this summit is over. We have failed. And everybody starts to bail. Everybody leaves. People start disappearing. Vanifar turns to you, Rode, And she says, amidst the sort of chaos of everybody leaving, she turns and says, well, he tried. Thank you for your help. She kind of gives you a concerned look. And she says, stay safe. Excuse me. I have to return to my guild. And she turns to go. And very quickly, the room clears of servants. It clears of people. Tack, you have an opportunity to go out and like recover some dishes and like, you know, because they're like, all right, everybody, meeting didn't go exactly as planned. Let's get out of here.
Tack definitely goes under the guise of like a dishwasher, like with the little bucket to just like slide stuff into, but is trying to keep Vraska in their sights.
Yeah. So
because like Vraska's not gonna let an early ended meeting get in the way of whatever she had planned.
So yeah, no one else seems to notice this because she's like, you know, Guildmaster junior grade. She just started. So everybody else is leaving. And as they do, we notice one at a time, they all go, but Vraska's just leaning against a pillar, just waiting, watching everybody leave. And slowly the room kind of like dwindles until there's only two people left. You can be like Road, you can hang around at the outside if you want. Tack, you can too. So the last two people left are Asperia, Supreme Judge of the Azorius, and Vraska. And at this moment, Asperia notices this and she turns, she looks and she sees Vraska and she says, why are you still here, Golgari? You have the right to leave. You're free to go. And Vraska kind of like sits up. She's been leaning against this pillar a while. And she cracks her back and she says, see, Asperia, that's the thing. She takes a couple of steps forward. You Azorius senators, you Peruns, you think you control everybody around here. You think you can just come down into the Undercity, drag me up here for some stupid meeting just because what? You get to decide what the law is? And Asperia says, the Senate has defended Ravnica from threats since long before you arrived, Golgari. And Vraska says, yeah, well, that's the last time you assholes kidnapped me. And she looks at Asperia, and for just a second, and Tack, you have had it ingrained in you, like trained from the moment you were adopted. Like there is a moment you will feel it if you are around. Be aware of this. If you're around a Gorgon, there is a moment where if you feel the hairs on the back of your neck stand up, you look away. Do not look. And so you feel that there is a sudden tension in the air, and you know enough to like look away. Road.
Oh, no.
Can you? I need you to make a saving throw.
Oh no.
So
Okay.
So Road, this is just like secondary effect. So it's not like she's turning her full power on you. But I need you to make a. Let me see what it is for a Medusa, and then we'll use that. Okay, here we go. Undercity Medusa. I think it's a wisdom save, but I'm not totally sure. That's
the ideal thing for it to be.
Yeah.
No,
So
it's not.
if it's turned on you directly, it's a Constitution save. I'm gonna say it's a wisdom save to just get out of the blast radius. So yeah, make a wisdom save. Hot damn.
Okay.
Hey,
Perfect. Okay, you got a 22. Okay, so the two of you, we
folks at
see
home, that was a 22.
so Vraska looks up at Asperia. Asperia locks eyes with her. We hear there'd be an audio cue, like a flashing sound or something. We cut to the two of you, maybe split screen, like look away instinctively, and then we hear. We just hear the sound. We don't actually get to watch it happen, but we just hear the sound of high heels on stone. And the camera is focused on Vraska as she's walking towards the camera. There's a big gray object behind her. She walks past the camera. The focus pulls to Asperia, who is now extremely dead. She has been turned to stone and has this sneer on her face like, how dare you speak to me that way? Turned to stone. The leader of the Azorius has just been assassinated by Vraska, who's just going to walk out of here and call it a day. And so, Tack, you and Rode see this. You see the statue. You see Asperia frozen in place. And I think the two of you see each other like across this enormous hall. When you look back, that's the last shot. Is Rode dressed in like a powder blue suit, and Tack dressed like a caterer, like a dishwasher. And we see that the two of you see each other across the arena. Do you say anything, or is there just a shot of like disbelief?
I think because Tack knew that something was up, and because like Vraska was like, tell everyone it was me. I think what Rode sees is Tack like looking at Asperia, looking at Rode, and then just like dropping everything and running the fuck out.
I think like the Rode's like, get out. I think that's
bye.
Yeah. I almost want there to be a moment where Vraska walks like past Tack and like looks over and sees you in the shadows and just winks at you like, hey buddy. Like remember that talk we had?
God, I love her.
Yeah, she's my favorite. Cool. All right.
My wife.
Yeah, so we'll fade out. We'll fade out on that. This was the big meta moment I needed to flip the hinge on. So now things have entered sort of the second phase. Kaya is in charge of the Orzhov. Asperia is dead, which means Dovin Ban is going to be in charge of the Azorius now. There's a lot of things that are shifting because of this. And I love that Torgor, that you're getting closer to Rakdos, because Rakdos plays a big part in the next sort of act, which is great. Yeah. Cool. Good episode, everybody. Thanks for coming. Winnegar is going to have lots to catch up on. When we start the next episode, when Carlos gets back, we're going to rewind a little bit and we'll play out this day, but from the perspective of the Izzet League. So we'll probably run into Ral, maybe Niv Mizzet. We'll see how the Izzet are preparing for this meeting. Maybe we'll learn a little bit about Project Lightning Bug. So I hope that you will be able to come back and check that out. In the meantime, I'll let my friends here tell you where you can find them. TK, do you want to start first so you can get it out of the way and then lie down?
I'm dying. Goodbye forever. I'm dead. It's me. It's TK. I write spooky stories. I put them on the internet. If you like spooky stories, then you can read them at my website, tkjwrites.com, or you can follow me on Twitter, TK Joins the Fray. Follow me on Instagram if you want to see sweaty pictures of me from the gym, or pictures of my cat, whatever. I don't care. I'm not your dad. I won't tell you what to do. Tales from the Mists is coming back. February 14th. Yeah. In the meantime, you can play our Choose Your Own Nightmare poll adventure game that we've got going on. Just like last season, all results of the poll adventure game are canon for season 3. So you have the ability to affect the world around the game that I play on Fridays that I forgot. Tales from the Mists.
Nice. I like that too. There are a lot of different ways to incorporate like fan feedback into an RPG. Some of them I'm like, I would never do that. Others I'm like, oh, that's interesting. So it's cool seeing when people do those neat things. Yeah, they're really fun. Cool. Up above TK over here, it's Masood. Masood, do the thing. We can't. I mean, we could try to read your lips, but
now I said I could do that. I'll do it, and that was muted. Hey, it's Masood. You can find me on Instagram and Twitter at Marudeboy, MAHRUDEBOI. I'm just gonna be posting stuff about my comedy, about my cat, just good content. Gonna be posting a lot more about tabletop role playing game stuff that I'm doing. Like, you can catch me here from on Wednesday mornings, 9 to noon Pacific time. It's 11 to 2 in Chicago. I had to say it once. And you can also find me on Monday nights with this untitled Zweihander project that's going on.
Did you get a chance to weigh in? We've been workshopping some titles on the Discord, so go make sure you go check that out because we put in some suggestions. Yeah, I want to have a title for it soon.
I'm very excited, and also, guys, tune in and find out what the title is this Monday. It's gonna be a good time.
Nice.
But yeah, other things that I might be doing is I'm gonna try and Saturday night go to this comedy D&D thing happening. Because that looks and sounds amazing.
Yes, I would also go to that if Chicago wasn't so far away. One of these days, I have to just move to Chicago because apparently all my friends live there now. So that's cool.
I will tell you this, it's a little overrated. I think Vancouver's a better city.
Okay.
So
I do love
happy.
Vancouver though. That's true.
Freaking whatever.
Over on that side, speaking of Dungeons and Dragons events, Katie May, do the thing.
Hi, I'm Katie May. You can find me at Twitter at OKKatieMay. You can come help me raise money for a very great charity, Girl Forward, this Saturday, twitch.tv/comedy&d. If you want to see me DM, KM the DM. I'm called very mean, but that's up into interpretation. You can catch Dungeons Dice and Everything Nice, or I lead a bunch of my Chicago comedy friends through a deer adventure. You can also catch us at C2E2. We perform for a sold-out crowd every year. It's a lot of fun. Last year it was puppets. The year before that, it was Guy Fieri. Who knows what this year is? we'll decide eventually. But yes, those are all my projects. So come check one of them out.
My ideal goal for this show, if we got to do like a live thing with the show, would be to do it, but not at a D&D event, but at some kind of like big deal Magic event. Just be like, so we're gonna do this live D&D show about how bad Jace Beleren is, and we're gonna do it in front of a bunch of people who don't really know anything about D&D, but they know everything about Magic. It'll be great.
Yes.
So yeah, if we have any, if we
debut our Magic cards.
Yeah, if we have anybody
debuted at the same time,
anybody who can hook us up, that would be sick. If there's a Magic event that you want to fly us to do like a cool live show, one of the Grand Prix maybe. I hear they have them all over the world, so we're open to that. Yeah. Also, if we could get some Magic cards, even if it's in like an unofficial set, that would be super sick.
I would love that.
I would die happy with that. Yeah, I'd love to see a Road, a Torgorn attack card.
We've earned it.
I think so too. I think so too.
I had to learn all the names of all of these things. We've earned it.
Yep. I agree. Well, thanks for coming, everybody. This has been an episode of Jace Beleren Must Die. I do owe you experience points, so let's do that before I give my final farewell. Did we learn something about Jace Beleren, his conspirators, or servants?
I say yes because I think that we learned that other people are way more aware of Jace Beleren than we thought they were. Mm-hmm. And also, we don't know Vraska is a conspirator, but I'm gonna say yes.
Well, I think like the big thing that we figured out is that like Niv Mizette's trying to do this whole thing, but we know that a Planeswalker is literally right under.
Yeah, I'm gonna say like the.
Yeah, well, this is the danger is that Niv Mizzette and Ral definitely know about Planeswalkers, but it seems like they're like Niv and Ral aren't even on the same page because Niv Mizzette is like we got to get rid of Jace. And Ral is like, yeah, boss, we got to get rid of Jace, who I am having secret meetings with. Yeah.
Oh,
so
Project Lightning Bug? Is that like
that's what we found out.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So we learned that even
Ral's
though
a double agent.
Yes, even though Niv Mizzette is in charge of the Izzet League, we've learned that Ral is undermining him and that Project Lightning Bug is something else. Yeah,
100%.
Yeah. Okay, cool. All right. Yes, everybody experienced for that. Did anybody express a unique aspect of class, race, or background? As separated from guild, I think
separated from
guild. Road, your race came up several times and both helped you and hindered you in terms of like social connections with other characters. So, yeah.
I'm gonna say yes for class just because of the warlock.
Oh yeah. Because that's a new thing we've introduced. Yes, definitely. Okay. Yeah. And then Torgor, obviously, did you express your connection to your guild in a meaningful way? Torgor for sure. I think Road also in this case because you were drawn to the prime speaker, right? That you were like, I still want to connect with other Simic.
Yeah.
I wonder
but
if
also Demir, but also Azorius.
Yeah, right. How many guilds can Road?
I was called to 3 guilds this time.
Yeah.
The points don't stack.
There's gotta be some kind of like support group for non-Simic hybrids, right? Either ones that left the guild or got kicked out, who are like, sometimes I just want to like lay around with my friends in a kiddie pool of like slightly salinated water, and talk about what it means to be part crab.
That'd be so cute.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, cool. And then lastly, did your alignment complicate your character's life in an interesting way?
I would say yes, for Torgor agreeing to be the director, writer, and actor in a show that if it goes poorly, everyone will die, but Torgor will triple die.
Yes. Yeah.
You know what? I think that's reasonable for Rakdos. I think you can triple die if it's Rakdos.
Rakdos can probably make.
Oh my god! In the Rakdos cult, if you die on stage, you die in real life.
I hate this and I hate you.
Well, what's great about that is that the episode's over, so you don't have to put up with me anymore.
You are so
until next week. So thank you for coming, everybody, and for putting up with our various bullshit. It has been a blast. I am every week just pleased as punch to get to do this. If you want to check out any of the other cool stuff that we do, go to Roll20 on YouTube. There are several Dungeons and Dragons and other role-playing game series over there. Or check out the individual projects that all these cool folks are doing. We will be back next time, hopefully with our Carlos, and we will pick up where we left off in the ongoing drama of Jace Beleren Must Die. And maybe you can get a dragon on your side. We'll see.
Ooh. And talk about the circle.
That's right. And talk about the circle. That's right. So
it ended last week. I've got thoughts.
If that's what you want, I guess you could come back for that too. Thanks for coming, everybody.
Die beforehand.
We'll see you next time, unless DK dies. Bye.
Bye.